All right, folks, welcome back. This is Yankees Unloaded. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Gary Sheffield Jr. And today we are back. Yankees win 3-0 over the Detroit Tigers. Ace Gerrit Cole looked like Ace Gerrit Cole. We had another home run from Aaron Judge. Oswald, I almost said Oswaldo. Done that quite a few times.
It's not hard to do that.
Oswald Peraza, we'll just call him Raza from now on. Raza went deep in his return, his first game this year with the Yankees. And he went deep and he introduced a new toe tap. Well, he's been doing this essentially in AAA, but this is the first time we've seen it in the majors. He's very confident because of that toe tap that he's figured something out. And the numbers speak volume. I mean, he has it over 1,000 OPS, I think, over the last 20 games or what have you. In AAA, and
you already found that, by the way, the two strike approach. Isn't that ironic? A young player who's in the minor leagues, discovered with his hitting coach, you know what? I'm a better hitter with 2 strikes. And the last 2 times I had 2 strikes, I hit 2 homers with this little toe tap. So why don't I just do that? And lo and behold, he's now doing it long term. We've kind of been asking Gleyber Torres over the last couple of years to do this. It maybe doesn't have to be this pronounced. It doesn't have to be a toe tap. Something more simple, something that you can repeat. And right now, based on his mechanics, I mean, do I think it's all solved because he hit 1 homer? No. But this is also something that he's done kind of long term in the minor leagues. And he's showing, okay, maybe having a 2-strike approach doesn't mean I just have to slap a ground ball. Maybe that's not what that means. Maybe that's cutting down my swing, making it more repeatable, making it not an uppercut. And it made him a better player. So possibly this is an asset the Yankees can use. I know you mentioned you'd like to see a little bit more of him. A lot of people were saying they would like to have seen him a little earlier than this. I mean, we've been calling for multiple guys, right? So
I thought he was done though.
Right. Yeah. You even said, like, where is he? It seems like they've given up. And, you know, Jazz Chism goes down on the IL. We finally see him. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise in the short term. It seems like we got good news out of Jazz.
Yeah.
So we possibly, kind of like Ben Rice, due to injury, we basically put ourselves in a situation to find talent and something that we can use.
It's so funny because this team basically gets lucky based on the injuries. And it's bizarre to even say that. But they wouldn't have found Ben Rice, to your point. They wouldn't have had Peraza in the lineup today, who hit a home run, gave him a big boost at the end of the game with that. But no, I think, I don't want to get too much on them because, I mean, I like the idea of calling guys up and, dealing with it from within. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of frustrating how it takes like a big injury for this to happen. I mean, it's almost like people would agree with me on this. Like, it's almost like Jason Dominguez won't even get called up at all unless, Verdugo or somebody like that gets hurt. And it's like, I don't want to see any injuries. At the same time, I want to see these guys play.
Well, that Cashman quote where you said that we basically have Jason Dominguez laying in the wings and it's a good problem to have. Well, if he's a better player than any other outfield you have other than Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, shouldn't he be here?
It's a really bad look that he's not there. I mean, if you really think about it, regardless of how you feel about Grisham, he's better than Grisham. But
right, because Grisham's a role player who's like filling that role. I'm cool. Because remember, like earlier in the year, and I did say, like, I get it. I understand why Grisham's on this team. He's perfectly comfortable and capable of playing once a week. You don't really care about his development. He's a veteran player. He's going to go out there and play center field, get Judge off his feet, and then Jason Dominguez is not going to play that role. So yes, would it make the Yankees a better team to have Jason Dominguez in that position? Sure, in the short term, absolutely. But is it best for Jason Dominguez's development to be starting every other day or whatever the situation? But most people have said, and this is common sense, he wouldn't be playing center field, or he'd be playing center field, you'd move Aaron Judge to left field. And that's the adjustment that you could have made there. But right now he's just kind of getting his feet wet in the minor leagues. And once he starts hitting, I mean, I just think it's an easy call up. But I will say in Brian Cashman's defense,
so I just
in Brian Cashman's defense, by not making trades, he's essentially saying if any of these guys go down, these minor league guys, I'm going to call them up. So in his defense, now I don't defend Brian Cashman very often, but he had to have known if Jazz Chism goes down, if DJ LeMahieu goes down, we're going to be looking at Peraza, who's swinging a hot bat, and trust him on the big league team. We did that today, and frankly, it won us a game. So you got to give him credit.
Yeah, no, I will agree with that. One thing I want to say, really want to touch on this. Probably one of the biggest topics on this channel that we've talked about, because I look at this lineup, every day. And I mean, it doesn't look bad on paper. I mean, today, obviously, you want Wells in there, but
yeah, we didn't like that.
It doesn't look bad on paper when you got Wells, Soto, Judge, Stanton, all those guys, whatever. But I've come to the realization, Gary, maybe I always kind of felt this, but I don't feel like anybody talks about it. I've come to the realization where I feel like only Judge, Soto, Stanton, and Wells with their bats are worth playing every day. I think, Torres, he's now got a 311 on base percentage. He has hit better. So it's not necessarily that right now I would bench Torres or anything like that. But my biggest thing is this is a 162 game season. I think you got to go with the hot hand. And to me, this idea that you have these can't miss starters that, they're not going to be sat for anybody is just ridiculous. I mean, Vulpi hasn't gotten a day off since I can't remember the last time Volpi's gotten a day off.
If you look at Volpi's overall stats, though, to your point, I totally agree. I'm just going to stop there, tell you I agree. Anthony Volpi is hitting 247, right? He's got 11 homers. If people were being honest about his offensive numbers, defensively, he's fantastic, right?
Well, not today,
but
yeah.
Defensively, not today. But overall this season, he won a Gold Glove in his rookie season. We expect him to win more as the years go on.
Yeah.
But, doesn't have the greatest arm, but it's good enough. But I'll say this. If you looked at 247 with a 683 ops, 11 homers, isn't that kind of the stat line that Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, that's what you were expecting out of him?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So to your point, there aren't a ton of guys in this lineup. And you can go down the list, right? Giancarlo Stanton. If Giancarlo Stanton gives you an 0 for 24, you mean to tell me that you're not comfortable in September giving Jason Dominguez those at-bats? I would be. Anthony Volpi. If Anthony Volpi, you actually mentioned before the show, he's 2 for his last 34. Okay. Now, mind you, this is not his first slump. A lot of people bring this up. They bring this up all the time. Guys slump. And that is objectively true. In this game of all games, this isn't basketball where you're running and dunking. This isn't Jordan and Kobe. No, this is a game where mechanics are all over the place, and the best players shore up their mechanics more often than not. Now, with Anthony Volpi, this is a player who played the first 3 weeks of the season, looked like an all-star. The next 2 months, he hit under 200. He actually was closer to 120 than he was 200 for the next 2 months. Then we get to the break. He plays really well for about 14 days, and then we're back to it, slumping. So the question is that a player that has to play? Now, I'm not saying Anthony Volpi needs to be pulled off the field tomorrow, but my point here, and well, actually it's your point, is that if you don't earn your spot, you don't play well, then you don't have the pedigree to just be there. This is not a situation where an Alex Rodriguez puts the team on his back in the 2009 championship series. And then in 2010, he shows up and he's like, well, why am I not starting? Yeah, he should feel like he should be starting. He just saved the postseason the year prior. None of these players that you named outside of that list you gave, none of these players have pedigree getting it done at the highest level for the Yankees. Not one of them. Not Alex Verdugo, not Volpi, not Trevino. LeMahieu's like the one guy, but DJ LeMahieu knows he's gone through injuries. He's 36 years old.
And Torres in the postseason, he's been really good.
Absolutely. But Gleyber Torres knows what the narrative is in New York right now with him. He's an underperforming player in the last year of his contract. So there's no reason for Gleyber Torres to feel like, yeah, I should just walk into a starting role. Like maybe he feels that way, but should he? And that's the question that we're raising. And I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm raising the question because you have a guy in Oswaldo Cabrera who is, in my opinion, really come into his own this year. But I think it's kind of hidden and his stats don't look that great because he plays kind of it's a very fractured schedule with him. I mean, he could be sitting the bench for 5 games and then Boone's like, yeah, I mean, for no reason at all, we're just going to put him in there. Just give him a day,
Yeah.
let him play. And then he doesn't play for another 5 games. And it's like, we actually first brought this up at the beginning of the season when Cabrera was nuclear. And I would make the argument a lot of when Cabrera started going downhill in his struggles is because he was taken completely out of rhythm. Baseball is a rhythm game. I mean, we talk about slumps. That's a rhythm. It's just not a good rhythm you want to be in, right? But that is a rhythm. And it's the same thing when you're hot. And we see like Aaron Judge is like everything looks like a beach ball to him, But if you say you took out Aaron Judge a bunch of times, in during his hot streak, do you think he's just going to magically play like one day, not playing 5 games in a row?
Not likely.
And
It's
he's just
not
going to
likely.
hit bombs because it's baseball. And, repetition is everything. And it's everything, both good and bad. Like for Vulpi, the repetition of doing things the wrong way and having poor hitting mechanics is a bad thing for him. Now, it's not just for Cabrera, though. You've added Peraza to the equation. You now have Wells, who didn't play today, following an off day because they had to give Trevino his game. I mean, I don't hate that as much because I understand Wells isn't going to catch every single day. Right. What I hate is the idea that now Wells isn't in the lineup at all. And when you listen to Boone, it's like it doesn't even occur to him that he can use both catchers. It like does not even occur to him that Wells played some first base in AAA. Wells works out at first base before games. Wells can also be a DH. It doesn't even occur to him. And that concerns me.
And who started again for the Detroit Tigers today? Was it a right-hander or a left-hander? I know the answer to this, but I just wanted to make the point.
Wasn't it today a left-hander?
Today was a right-hander.
Oh, today was a right-hander.
Today was a right-hander. So what is the explanation for why DJ LeMay? Now, mind you, it was an opener. He went one
and
inning.
Please, for the love of God, Ben Rice, send him down. You're wasting him. You are absolutely wasting this kid. He's still on the team, by the way, Gary. Like, that's 2 right-handers in a row. And we brought up in our last show, like, hey, if Ben Rice isn't in today, and we've been told it's only a left-hander thing, is he really? I mean, I understand LeMahieu was hitting well, but that was for his standard. I mean, he still wasn't amazing. And now we're doing that whole thing where, yeah, LeMahieu hit well for like a week, so now Ben Rice doesn't exist. And now, we're just going to ignore.
Well, I mean, that's the volatile part of bringing up a young player. If you have a veteran guy like DJ LeMahieu, I think we can all agree DJ is playing. I know he's still, if you look at the overall numbers, his ops is still 522. So, but again, part of that is when you get off to such a dismal start, DJ LeMahieu doesn't have enough pop. He doesn't walk nearly enough to recover those numbers. So you kind of have to, judge DJ based on sectionally. Who's he been the last 2 weeks? And you brought this up. The hot hand should be playing, and period. Right?
Yeah.
So if DJ LeMahieu is 6 for his last 14, then it shouldn't shock us to see DJ LeMahieu's name in the lineup the next day. But Austin Wells, like, this is part of the reason we bring this up. Austin Wells is swinging a hot enough bat where even the idea of that he can't catch every single day, an idea that we totally agree with, he should be at first base. He has a pedigree that shows I can do this. Now, first base, this is something we've seen in the past before with veteran catchers. We've seen this with Joe Mauer. Joe Mauer is a player, and we saw it with Salvador Perez. Guys can catch, and then you really need their bat. They're a key cog in that offense. You put them over at first base. Now, do the Yankees just not trust Austin Wells to do that? Is DJ LeMahieu a good enough glove or bat at first base where you can't even entertain the idea of putting Austin Wells over there? In my opinion, he's not. So right now, based on what you just said, which was that Gleyber Torres is not really hitting that well. Like, of late, he's doing fine, but he's still hitting 238, right? So you've got Soto, Judge, Stanton. Stanton's got to come back into his own. Verdugo, Volpe, Trevino. So I'm looking at guys. I could use an extra bat there. I really could. So Austin Wells, I think you've actually made this point a few times. He's probably our third most reliable offensive guy this year.
Without a doubt.
And
He should lead off, if I'm being honest. I mean, if you're going to have, Stanton cleaning up, why not give Austin Wells the most at bats? He has a 340 plus on base percentage. That's the name of the game. Get on base. That's all I care about. I mean, that's why, even though the Phillies seem kind of weird doing it, that's why Schwarber leads off.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people would hear this and they think, oh, they must have a huge problem with seeing Trevino in the lineup at all. And that's where they would be confused. We're actually not that blown away by it. It doesn't surprise us. It doesn't even really upset us. What upsets us is, how can this possibly be butchered in the future? And we just want to make sure it's out there and it's done correctly. And what we mean by that is, if Jose Trevino goes out there and catches Gerrit Cole, to which, by the way, I thought Gerrit Cole was spectacular today. He went away from the cutter. He did throw it every once in a while. It was a show me pitch. It wasn't establishing strike one. It wasn't a 2-strike pitch. He was forcing.
That's when you use that as a bait, though, because when you know that you struggled your last start, they already have all the tape in the world that they watched on that,
Right.
So it's like, oh, he's struggling with his cutter. So when that comes up, just know that's a meatball. And he had better command on his cutter today, so he could use it, to your point, and, really kind of bait them. And I thought he did a really nice job.
Jake, that cutter's supposed to be used in moderation. The best way I can describe that cutter for Gerrit Cole is, it's like the 1984 Caravan when they've got that ugly wood panel across the side of it. But if you made the whole entire van a whole slab of wood, it looks like you're Julius Caesar, like you're just rolling on wheels. It doesn't look good, right? So Gerrit Cole needs to remember, if he's going to be pitching, he's paid all this money to locate that four-seam fastball, which is absolutely a light show, that slider, and then he actually started working in a knuckle curveball, which you saw a lot today. He was working that pitch a lot.
It's disgusting.
Guys were behind, ahead in the count. It didn't matter. He had location on that pitch. And when you can do that, you're going to dominate. And he did that, in my opinion. He did that today. Obviously, when Gerrit Cole gets his feet up under him, he's going to go even more length, which is going to be great. But today was a good thing to see. Just situationally, it seemed like Gerrit Cole, and we also have to give Trevino credit for calling this game, because you have to remember, he easily could have come into this game, allowed Gerrit Cole to do what he wants to do, which clearly seemed like throwing that cutter. That cutter hasn't been successful at all this year. There's been no depth. Guy, it's not missing bats. Today, he didn't just eliminate the pitch. You never want to just eliminate a pitch. You don't want to give up on it, but just show that. Show the cutter. Show that you can go 92, 93 out on the corner, and if it's off the plate, so what? We're coming back inside on the corner with 98 up to 100 miles an hour, and frankly, as long as that four seam's located, Gerrit Cole's not going to be hit. So I was just pleased to see it.
Oh, I was too. And I think pitching all around. And again, I understand we were just talking about the White Sox and, oh yeah, it's just the White Sox. And people are going to do that with the Tigers, but Tigers have 59 wins. I don't give a rip. They're still in it. I mean, I'm not like putting all my bets on them, but they're still in it. And they got a team that as of late was playing really well. I think they had won 4 straight to this point. They called up 2 minor leaguers they're very excited about. Trey Sweeney, who the Yankees drafted in the first round of 2021, was traded for Vivas and Gonzalez. And they also had Jace Jung called up, who was like their top prospect. So today was a big deal for the Tigers, and the Yankees just really punched them in the mouth with the pitching. And they had a couple, hitters, make some key, contributions. Some walks helped, and then Verdugo, with a productive out to left field to get, a run on the board in the first inning. And then Peraza hits a home run in the 5th, and Judge hits one in the 8th, and that's all she wrote. But I thought the pitching was great today, Gary. I mean, I thought Luke Weaver did a really nice job. Was kind of screwed over twice. There were 2 errors in that inning with him. You have the ball that is hit to Glaber and is thrown, it's a great play, but like he threw it completely away from LeMahieu. It's a tough play, but like the throw was terrible. So you had that, which was actually Trey Sweeney's first career hit. And then you had the one with Vulpi just like not closing his glove or whatever. And didn't have the foul ball caught. So that was annoying. Canely looked great, and Holmes looked really dominant. Like when you see Holmes striking out guys, that's how you know like he's in a good spot.
After a big break, by the way, because he had the 45 pitch close, right?
Yeah.
Came out there, essentially was worn down, rightfully so. And then usually Clay Holmes will tell you, if I don't pitch, I'm out of rhythm.
Yeah.
And the Yankees, after a 45 pitch performance, you need rest. So you're not going to get those reps. He didn't get that. So today, I mean, I was actually pretty surprised to see him that sharp, which is really good. By the way, I wanted to bring up the story. I saw it actually just after the game. They were talking about Alex Verdugo being allergic to his batting gloves. Did you see that?
Oh my, yeah, I did see that the last 3 years or whatever.
Why is that a story?
Why? How did he just now find this out?
He was probably like, I'm hitting 235. I'm in a contract year. The actual issue is that I've been wearing gloves that I couldn't be wearing. What are we talking about?
What batting gloves? Am I allergic to my golf glove? Is that maybe that's why I couldn't hit the other day?
Yeah, that's essential. I just don't understand the purpose, because a lot of times when I take in media from writers or a player,
well,
tells
he wanted
me something,
that out there,
right? So that's my thing.
That out there,
but it's like, I don't know. It kind of reminded me a lot of, remember when Joey Gallo was complaining about the shift?
It is the Joey Gallo, like excuses. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I know a lot of football players who have gone through an entire season with a torn shoulder, and they pride themselves on not letting that be known. They want to be out there. They're not trying to, so
if Verdugo needed like an EpiPen or whatever you call it, and he was like going to die out there on the baseball field because of his batting gloves, yeah, I'd be concerned. I'd be really worried.
But this is just an excuse that he leaves.
This is just nonsense. But guys, there are players all the time, whether they're hurt.
It's not just him though that does this.
Oh, I know. But hey, you guys remember when my dad used to catch fly balls like this all the time, and people would say, "Oh, he's showboating." Remember that? He'd catch a fly ball like this. You want to know why he does that? He does it because he can't do this with his arm. There you go. So, and if you ever golfed with him, he can't bring his arm above here. He'll tell you that. So, but these are all things that my dad didn't say during his baseball career. My dad will just go out there and play. And if he's not playing well, then he's just not playing well. That's all it is. So I don't need to hear any New York Post story about a player being allergic to his batting. Ever. That's so true. But why do I need to know this information? It's just pointless. And like you said, it was said so that I can receive it and then draw a different conclusion than what I already had about the player. And I won't do that. I'll change my opinion on the player when he starts colliding the baseball with the barrel of his bat and then starts running to first base. Once that happens, thrilled to cover it. Because remember, when Alex Verdugo plays well, our show is better. Guys, people are in better moods. You think I want to host a show and have our comment section be upset about Alex Verdugo? No, I'd much rather you hit 290 like we paid you to do and put the ball in play all the time, run down the first base line, prove Alex Cora wrong. I want to cover those things. I don't want to talk about your batting gloves when you're hitting 260 or what is he hitting? He's hitting 235. So
yeah,
you think I want to sit here and talk about your batting gloves? I don't. So no, I don't need it.
When you got all the bling around your neck and you're hitting 235, it's not a good look. But
we are in the twilight zone where dudes are wearing like $60,000 necklaces,
like while playing.
They can't even hit. Yeah,
while playing, it's
despicable.
It's a flex, but then your play isn't a flex, and so yeah. And also, back to that whole glove thing, he probably thought leaking that would do something, but we've already seen so many players go through seasons injured, not telling anybody because they don't want to make excuses. They don't want to distract the team.
Right.
So in a way, he probably thought this would go one way, and I think it ended up going a different way. But yeah, I'm excited for Peraza, though. I'll say that. I'm excited for him. I want him to get more at-bats. I want to see Cabrera in there. My point in all this is I do think if Verdugo, is not hot, I don't think his glove in left field is enough to get me to be like, oh, I'll never play Jason Dominguez over him. LeMahieu, in my opinion, is not good enough at first base, and not a good enough bat to basically not have Judge or Wells or even Cabrera play there. Wells is too good to ever miss a game in the lineup. Because keep in mind, at this point, Wells missed plenty of games. He was splitting time with Trevino. He should play the rest of the year. Obviously, at catcher, that's putting a lot on him every single day. But he should be in the lineup the rest of the year, Gary. It's really that
also
simple.
25 years old. I mean, this is the age of
he could catch the rest of the year if we're being honest.
He could be in grad school right now. So this is a young person.
Yeah.
So let's remember that. Like, it is catcher. Don't get me wrong.
He's the same age as Ben Rice.
Yeah, it's the hardest position to play on the field. It's not close, but especially physically. But let's remember, this is a 25-year-old kid. He's able to play every day, especially just like you mentioned, Trevino was splitting time with him in the first half of the year. He's going to max out at 125, 130 games. He can play. I understand when people say, well, we want to protect this asset and we want to make sure he's around in October. That's all fine. But right now, when you're up one game over the Baltimore Orioles, these games really matter. Like, we're at the point now where it's like 40 games left in the season. So you can go out there. Austin Wells might change a game. We've seen him turn a game on its head.
Absolutely.
Having him out of the lineup for one day could have a massive impact. Now, I don't want to freak out about one game, but this isn't just one game. This is the context of 73 wins, 50 losses. That's a lot of games already under our belt. So now it just amplifies the pressure of what we do these next 40 games. So we want to protect these assets. We don't want to be reckless, but at the same time, we need to get honest with ourselves. Is it a ton to ask a 25-year-old catcher to play 125 games? I don't see it. I don't see how that's that difficult, especially when you name some of the best catchers in the league. They tend to play more than that. I think Austin Wells is plenty capable.
No, I agree with you. Obviously, I'm a big Austin Wells guy. It was really frustrating to not see him in the lineup. And you knew it. When they announced that like Trevino was going to catch for Cole today, that report came out before the lineup. I'm like, so this will be a lineup. Stanton will be DH and Wells won't be in it. And it's just like to act like, it's one or the other, and you can't have Wells in the lineup if he's not catching is just absurd. And it's something that I am going to continue to get on Boone about. But another thing is, again, the Vulpi thing, he had a horrendous day and he's not hit well. And to your point earlier, it's one thing when you have 2 months of slumping and you turn it around and you're like, okay, I'll give this guy. It's another when you start slumping again, because that's more so, who you really are. So leading to that, we'll wrap this show up with two things. The first thing is to let you guys know Gio Urshela was DFA'd. We have no news on Ahmed Rosario because the MLB has a really dumb way of doing pretty much any transaction whatsoever. Even the diehard baseball fans don't understand what's going on. So that tells you all you need to know. Typical Rob Manfred. And the last thing here is Jazz Chism. Okay. And Jazz Chism, 10-day IL, as you know. It's a sprained shoulder, Gary, is what Boone called it. And
sprained shoulder?
That's what it said.
What was it about a UCL I heard about?
I guess it was a sprained shoulder.
They very specifically told us that, like, they didn't say, oh, MRI showed us UCL. But when you say, hey, my UCL hurts, that's not like a scientific thing at all. Like that's you just telling us your elbow hurts. The inside of your elbow hurts. And then all of a sudden your shoulder. This is kind of your point, Jake. We don't really get too much information. We don't know what body parts hurt, why, how bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's not shoulder. The tweet was wrong because I was like, wait, what?
The tweet was wrong? Okay, good.
Yeah. I saw that earlier today. The tweet was wrong because I see it's edited now. It's a left elbow sprain.
Okay, so whatever the tweet was, that's their bad, but good. So the whole point here, we got good news from Jazz Chism, and clearly Jazz Chism,
it's 100% certain he'll be able to return after the 10 days are up. The Yankees are not.
The broadcast was like, yeah, the Yankees don't usually work that way, which is so funny. Like, that's the broadcast telling you that they work like the president. Like, they'll give you the information they want you to know and not the information that would just be valuable. right? Because I'll tell you this, Jake, it's pretty valuable information. If Derek Jeter went down with a sprained ankle in game 1 of a postseason series in the World Series, and then you said, I'm going to be there for game 2, you think I need the trainer to come tell me or go give a diagnosis? If he tells me he's playing, then I expect to see him out there tomorrow. So that's valuable information. I'm glad Jez said it.
Yeah. I mean, he said he hasn't felt any pain in the elbow since Monday. So, I mean,
since Monday.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
I know.
Then what's he on the IL for?
That's what
did you see him playing catch, by the way? They showed a video that he's like catching balls and throwing, and they go, yeah, tomorrow he's gonna hit. I go, he couldn't have hit 20 minutes before.
I know.
I don't understand how like slow I understand rehab, like when a guy's hurt and he's telling you things hurt, and then like it's a major injury. But if he's telling you, yeah, I haven't felt any pain at all. Like if we were at like YMCA,
do you think they use this as an excuse because Peraza had been hot and they use it as an excuse to see what Peraza could do in a short?
No, because you really overestimate how smart they are. So no, that's not anything that they would have done. It's just, personally, this is part of the reason why you'll never see anyone break Cal Ripken's record. There's dudes who can physically play catch. They can swing a bat. They can go run down the first base line 100%. And they're like, yeah, but the team's going to see how it feels in 6 days. It's like, it felt perfect 4 days ago.
He's throwing off a flat ground. They have some funny ones. He threw off flat ground today. He's really making a lot of progress. Like, oh, and did they help him up out of bed too?
Yeah, they just give us updates that they're just pointless. I don't get it.
He's got general body fatigue.
Jake, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about this either last episode or 2 episodes ago, and I actually had people reach out and be like, I'm so glad you guys finally said it. I don't know why there's no excuse as to why they can't just tell us what's going on. There's no gain from it. It's not like,
what am I going to do with it?
Yeah. Well, it's like, oh crap, the Tigers don't know what they're going to do tomorrow because Jazz Chism may or may not play. Like, they're not like, they don't care.
No, because if you really think about it, if you had known that Jazz Chism would be on the IL, and let's just say you knew Peraza was getting called up, you really think that the Detroit Tigers are like, hey guys, this AAA infielder is going to be called up. He's going to be here by Friday. So here's how we're going to game plan for him. No. I promise you guys, it's don't.
Even funnier when you factor in how they've talked about Scott Efros. Like, no, it's like, oh my God, it's Scott Efros. What are we gonna do? Like, no team is doing that. None. No team sitting there like, Gary, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You know what it reminds me of? This is a great point from Michael Kay. Michael Kay mentions this all the time. Pitching coaches and managers go out to the mound and they cover their mouth while they're talking to each other. Who's trained in mouth reading, lip reading? What are we talking about here? Nobody is trying to read what you're saying out on the mound. It's not like you're going, okay, here's going to be the pitches. Fastball, slider, fastball, slider. That's not what the manager's doing. The manager's coming out there saying, okay, let's try and calm down here. Let's remember who we have on deck here. Like, obviously, that slider, you haven't been able to get it over the plate. Let's work fastball, get ahead, and then try to go back to the slider later in the at-bat. The end of the conversation. That's how the conversations go. So you guys really think that they're going to be like, oh, he's sequencing over there as a manager, and we're going to relay it over to the hitter? No, that's not going to happen. So I don't know. It's just pointless for us not to have the information. I just think it would be productive, and it would help us trust them more. Because they act like they don't. They're like, why don't you guys trust us? You guys are always like down our back, right? Boone treats us like we're the ops. Oh, they're probably going to be on me. It's like, well, yeah, we're on you. You're lying to us. So what do you think?
I mean, it's always something. And it's funny that you mentioned that that is so funny because can you imagine how obvious it would be? It's like they couldn't hear me. And the pitcher goes out there, first pitch after the manager says, throw at him, and he throws at him. And they're like, hey, how did you know? I mean, you couldn't see that I was clearly talking to him. It's embarrassing is what it is. It is what it is. So that is going to wrap it up. But in Yankees Unload fashion, well, before we get into that, Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you have not already. But in Yankees Unloaded fashion, I did the movie last time, Reservoir Dogs, and you guys were awesome. A lot of you could spell it, and a lot of you couldn't, and admitted that you couldn't because your phone helped you out with spell check. But this one,
confidence.
Yes, but this one, everyone should know this movie, and everyone's probably seen this movie. Throw it out there.
We're going bench warmers. We're going bench warmers, and the reason for this, I assume, first of all, a lot of people have seen this movie, but the reason I bring it up, Jose Trevino should only play off the bench. He shouldn't be a starter for this team. In my opinion, Austin Wells has done enough to be the starter every day. I should only see Trevino when Austin Wells needs a day off. And it'll be apparent based on how much he plays. If I see Austin Wells play tomorrow, and then the following day I see Trevino out there and he goes 1 for 3 and they say, we've got Trevino going, and I see Trevino's name in there again, Austin Wells has sat down for 2 days in a row, I'm going to be bald. I will, and I'll be upset. So we're going bench warmers.
Bench warmers. The best scene in that was the hot potato scene. With Reggie Jackson, I think, was in that scene.
Yeah, the cameos in that movie were just perfection. Amazing movie. I don't know what made me think of it, to be honest with you. I didn't even have to Google this. Normally, I have to Google a movie. This movie, it just came to me. I think Trevino just set a fire.
Well, hey, it's a great movie. If you haven't seen it already, you definitely need to. And yeah, drop bench warmers in the comments section below to let us know that you made it this far. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. It's going to be another early game. Ours will probably be a later show, but yeah, tune in tomorrow. We appreciate you guys. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Like this video.